Here are 5 things that you should know about the Gimbal UFO video. Number 5. What kind of FLIRs are these? The infrared equipment used to record the 3 UFO FLIR videos were FLIRs, which stands for Advanced Targeting Forward-Looking Infrared Systems, and they're usually mounted on fighter jets such as the FA-18. The infrared equipment that I work on has more of a surveillance application. There is a crossover between the two because of the similarities between the technologies, therefore I decided to go ahead and make an input. These systems are completely different from other handheld units or other thermographies, and I'll explain why. This FLIR system that I'm operating has 5 fields of view: wide, medium, narrow, super narrow, and ultra narrow. Unfortunately, the FLIR 1 has 1 field of view, wide. Number 4, couldn't it just be a smudge on the window? This is actually one of the first experiments that I tried, was taking an old window and putting it in front of an infrared and looking at a soldering iron with a smudge of grease on the window. And it turns out it's exactly what you'd think. It looks like a smudge of grease is on the window. It's pretty obvious. Number 3, infrared and visible light are both electromagnetic radiation. Isn't it all the same? Infrared and visible light might both be on the electromagnetic radiation wavelength scale, but what we're talking about is the equipment. The optics used for visible light are pretty much just what you see on a day-to-day basis, visible windows. You can see through them. The optics for infrared equipment is not anything like that. They're made out of metalloids, germanium, silicone, that kind of thing. So the difference between the visible light camera and the infrared camera, there's a lot of differences. It's completely ridiculous to hold a flashlight up to a window and rotate and say, see, look, there's where the glare rotates, and that's what it's all about, because it's just light and it's heat, and I don't know what I'm talking about. It's not that at all. It's heat versus light. There's a big distinction and differentiation that he doesn't understand. Number 2. There's this altered video that shows artifacts that move the same time as the gimbal rotation. What's up with that? Well, I originally had a thought that it might be the tracker, because when the object rotates, the tracker reacquires the image, and therefore the whole scene could adjust as the tracker is adjusting with it. That may or may not be right. I don't know, so I'm not going to stick to that. But the bottom line is, it doesn't matter what is going on with the rotation, whether it's the gimbal or the derotation device or the aircraft itself. It doesn't matter, because it all comes down to number 1. And number 1, is it glare rotating? Let's put aside the whole semantics of is it glare or flare or reflection or any of that. What we really want to know is does it maintain a heat signature, or is it some anomaly with the camera? I have maintained my stance that an infrared camera will not show a glaring or flaring of any sorts when it's looking at the back of an aircraft jet, like you would see with a daylight camera. That's ridiculous. I will say that there has been some glaring and flaring in the infrared when the sun's out in the morning or late afternoon and it catches the windows just right, the IR windows. Yes, there is glaring and flaring. However, if you change fields of view, you will see that the infrared just sees right through that, and when you're looking at something in a narrow field of view, it's not applicable. I think it all comes down to rotation, and what I mean by that is glare rotating, or is the thermal signature rotating? I would say that a thermal signature is rotating, and obviously Mick is saying there's some kind of glare or IR camera anomaly going on. I will have to say this. Mick has a flashlight and a FLIR 1. I've been using FLIRs for the last 15 years and about 15 different models of them. You decide.